straight to the point. Alrighty, welcome everybody. I appreciate you all taking the time to come be here live, do a little bit of a Sunday review, make sure that we are prepped and ready for this week. I am very excited about this trading week, although I'm doing my best to keep those expectations managed, right? I think one of the things that we talk about collectively all the time is that the best weeks that you have are the ones where you don't expect to come in and crush, right? When you expect to come in and crush, when you expect to make a lot, when you have these expectations on the market, then typically speaking, you don't perform all that well, right? You tend to overestimate how you'll perform and subsequently not perform the way that you hoped, right? And I think it's really important that we make sure that, like I said before, all of my best weeks, including last week, I had a great week last week, 60K. Everything was four signals, 4 wins. Like, it was a very solid week. I came into last week with super low expectations, right? Super low expectations. And I think that I want to make sure that we collectively do that again this week, right? We all are on the same page, clear understanding that in order to succeed at this long term as a trader, you need to make sure that every single day your expectations are managed. So regardless of a high velocity lineup of names of reporting earnings this week, as well as FOMC, we need to come in with a mindset of expectations managed, expecting to trade 1 to 2 to 3 days a week, expecting to find 1 to 2 really high quality setups to risk our capital on. And other than that, succumb. Like, that's the mindset that you need to approach every single day with, because that's the mindset that full-time traders succeed with, right? Like, again, I'll say this a million times over, the 3 traders that during the beginning stages of my career that I looked up to the most, they traded less than everybody else, right? There was Umar, Eric, and Trade Like Mike. Those 3 were people I always looked up to. And one thing that they all had in common, despite trading completely different strategies in every way, shape, and form, every facet, is that they all traded less. They all were more comfortable taking days off. They were all more comfortable lowering their expectations. And that's a trait that I've really tried to like adopt into my own trading, because every time I think about it, every time I do it, it ends up being a more positive success for me, right? So this week, absolutely coming in with the mindset of low expectations, not aiming for a whole lot. That being said, there are a ton of earnings names that are reporting this week. So if we take a look on who's lined up, we have, just to name a few, we have UPS, Caterpillar, McDonald's, Spotify, AMD, Snapchat, all of which, in my opinion, are tradable names. Then you have Meta, you have Peloton, you have Meta, Peloton, then you have Eli Lilly, playable name. Then on Thursday after close, you have Amazon, Apple, Google, Qualcomm, Starbucks, all 5 playable names. So Friday, this will absolutely probably be a Friday that I am going to trade, barring, some crazy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I will likely trade Friday as well, which is not something that I, tend to do. I think most Fridays I give myself a 3-day weekend, not most, but about half of Fridays I skip outright, right? Because I just, I make more when I don't trade on Fridays, typically speaking. But this week, I think there's enough earnings that I will absolutely be in play for, valid setups on Friday. So definitely going to be, based on everything I read, that was in order of earnings report. So there is nobody of interest to me tomorrow before market open, which means that there's nobody of interest for me to play an earnings name tomorrow. If I'm not playing an earnings name tomorrow and we have FOMC later this week, right? If it's a big earnings week and a FOMC week, would we expect the market to have a massive move prior to FOMC and prior to those earnings? I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to be missing anything tomorrow. I think that as traders, there's a few different reasons why I feel comfortable taking tomorrow off as a whole. First, I'm still technically on vacation, right? And yeah, there's this idea of like, yeah, you could work from anywhere as a trader. Like, I could trade off my laptop and try and make money. And like, that's not wrong, but it's also like, then what are you working for, right? Like, if I don't sleep in and enjoy myself on a night where like I'm at an Airbnb and like on vacation, then like, what am I working for, right? Like, what do you work for? Just to continue to work more and more and more. So I think that I'm comfortable taking another day off because I've been on this little vacation. The other thing is that mental capital is a real thing. And I am expecting to exert a lot of it at the end of this week. I'm expecting to have some high stress trades. I'm expecting to be very locked in and focused, especially on FOMC day, especially on some of these earnings names days. So I think that later this week is going to take a whole lot of energy. And I don't want to waste any of that energy on Monday before any of those names or plays or setups even take place, right? I think mental capital is one thing we as a collective group have talked about quite a bit, but I do know that it's very under talked about as a whole in the trading community, is this idea that we as human beings only have a certain amount of mental energy that we can exert towards good decision making for the week. Again, this is not just in trading. This isn't anything you do, right? This is why in your 9 to 5, as the week goes on, you get more and more like short-tempered on your responses. You get more and more like a little bit defensive when people asking you questions. It's because you've run out of mental capital, right? You've run out of the ability to make good decisions in terms of what you're doing, right? And your whatever decision-making process that is, right? Whatever industry you're in. And in trading, it just can turn out to be more costly than in other industries, right? If you exert all your mental capital on Monday through Thursday, then on Friday, if you come in and try and trade with big size or emotions, but you've already expressed and used up all that energy you have for the week and all that good decision-making, you're inevitably going to do some stupid shit on Fridays. And that's why most people end up, Fridays are like an illusion. I think most people are not I think most people, side note, most people I know aren't profitable, right? Like I was talking about this with somebody the other day, and I was like, I don't know, for people that I know, like I've met in person, like I don't know very many profitable traders. I know more obviously because I have a group of people online that I trade with, but the reality is like from people I know in person, I can probably count like a couple on my two hands, profitable people I know, right? Like being profitable as a whole is already hard enough, right? I think that most people lie to themselves when they talk about their profitability on Fridays, because typically what happens is that people will, once every blue moon, they'll catch like a move like Tesla on last Friday, which was a great setup and presented itself with a really nice move, right? But they'll catch that one big Tesla move, then they'll spend the next 3 Fridays slowly losing that profit, right? And that would be a big thing that I would recommend is use. If you make profit on a Friday, kind of like fuck off for at least the following Monday to make sure that like you've protected it, right? Like, for example, I had that big Etsy win on a Friday a couple weeks back. I did that one great. And then I came back on Monday and I lost like 6 or 7K on that Monday, just because I immediately, was comfortable taking on a little bit too much risk, firing orders a little bit too out early because I just come off like a really strong Friday. So for any of you who did catch Tesla and have a strong Friday, maybe consider taking Monday off or going slow. Or if you had so much FOMO from Tesla or the NVIDIA, these other movers on Friday, that you come into today or tomorrow, I should say, come in tomorrow, like Frank from that meme. I started blasting, right? Just ready to fire orders right away. I think that will ultimately also harm you. So I wouldn't hesitate to just take Monday slow as a whole. Mondays for us are always about discipline. They're always about process over profits. But I think more of this Monday than any ever, it's good to be defensive than anything else, right? So that being said, we have a very interesting weekly chart on the SPY on our hands. It's hard to argue that this chart is pretty bullish, right? Like until we get some sort of indicative clue of failures, I don't really see the short on this yet. Now that can change rather quickly. Any sort of failure over these previous highs here can set us up for a new leg down that ultimately sweeps these lows. However, in my opinion, it will require a sweep of these highs. I don't see how these highs don't get tested. I don't see how these highs don't get taken out. And even if they don't get taken out, we at least, I would figure, need to have some sort of action above last week's high so that we can fail and then set up lower if we were to go lower. That being said, I think shorts have just been wrong the last few weeks, and they might have had days or two where they were able to capture, right? Like those 3 or 4 days in a row here where shorts really looked like they were in control. But other than that, primarily longs have been the one dominating, and I don't really want to fight that, right? That being said, I would prefer some sort of pullback first. I would prefer, maybe we come down and tag 391.63s or maybe 394.84s. Maybe we come down and hold one of these lower levels and then ultimately get the push up from good earnings or a good FOMC to take out this high. But the reality is that this chart is definitely not bearish, right? That's the thing. Until we get some sort of upper failed test or a potential lower high in place, this chart for me doesn't have the bearishness that I would look for in a short, right? Like I think you need an upper test first in order to do that. Now, I don't love the upper wick that it left based on Friday's action, but relative to the overall size of the bar that it's on the week, I don't think it will be a wick that comes into play. I think you can easily take out its high. So just to check, how does futures open up? Probably flat, little pulling back. Yeah, flat little pullback. So nothing too crazy on futures. That being said, I think that as a whole this week, there's not a ton to talk about from like a prep perspective, knowing that we have so much data coming out later in the week, whether it be the FOMC decision, whether it be Apple, Google, Amazon earnings, which all occurs on Thursday, right? I think that this week is going to be one where we more so have to kind of sit back and see what we get, right? Because everything's at like a tricky spot, right? Like let's take a look at a strong name that recently, for example, like Etsy, right? Etsy has looked great recently. It's been a long-sided trade for us that we've been paying attention to. And I could absolutely see Etsy getting some upside extension past this point, right? Past this resistance, maybe up to 150, 160s, right? The other thing though, is that Etsy, representative of a lot of other names in the market, is right at resistance, right? So like it could easily fail to go higher here, put in some sort of lower high and trade lower. I don't believe there's a definitive edge in the market one way or the other right now. I lean more on the case of longs than shorts, at least for now, until, like I mentioned, this previous high gets at least swept. I think that would make structural sense. Maybe even we come up and fill this gap. I think that would also make chart structural sense. But until some of those things happen, I think we have to be patient, right? Now, the part about this that makes it tough is that we as human beings want to chase this long up. As we continue to see it move and move up, there's this desire for actually to try and trade it either way. There's the desire to try and trade it with relatively aggressive size. There's the desire to try and trade it against it, fight it, and be like, no, I want to catch a really good short. We got good reward. The economy's crashing, bro. Inflation's so high. Why are we not shorting this, right? There's a reason and a justified attempt to try and stab with size on either direction, but I don't think it's warranted, right? Like I think that the nature of the market that we are in at the moment is still a 2-day-a-week market, 3-day-a-week market, light trade market, wait for these earnings type of setups that are independent of the overall SPY, right? I think that this market, we are not back. This is where it gets tricky, is because people see the bullish days. And so it makes it feel like we're back in the 5-day trading per week market where you should trade every single day. I don't believe that's the case. I believe we are still in the 2 to 3 day per week market, the 2 out of 7, one might say, market, right? For those who remember that particular video and rant, I still believe we're in that 2 out of 7 type of market where not most days are going to be favorable and optimal to trade. And you have to know that going in and have expectations being managed. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself stuck, right? So that being said, in terms of names that I'm interested in, anybody who's reporting earnings this week. So I don't really have any prep analysis to do on them because I think that would be, I don't think it'd be flawed, or pointless. But for me personally, like I'm going to wait to see where all of these names gap, right? Like I got to see where AMD opens up the day after earnings, where Snap opens up the day after earnings. So it doesn't really behoove me to like go through and like make out a game plan for each one. But what I will say is that all of them are of interest to me, right? Snapchat, AMD, Meta, Google, Amazon, they're all of interest to me. Apple, I all think that they have potential moves. And I all think they have favorable potential moves in play. So that being said, we'll see what names like really present the best opportunity this particular week. Yeah, XOM is one that's on the board too. We'll see what really presents like the best opportunities. This has maybe a little 1, 2, 3 action going. But right now, I think the main priority is, even though it's earnings week and even though we feel really good about the setups, about the names that are reporting, make sure that everybody has those expectations managed at all times. I think that it's really key, right? I think that, again, I can't emphasize this enough. Like, if you've been following the room for a while, if you've been with us for a while, you know I've been talking about expectation management for months now, right? And it's like, it's not one of these topics that I've talked about, then I kind of move on from. It's a topic that I've really like stuck hard and preached on. There's a reason I'm spending so much time on it, right? Like there's a reason it's such like an emphasis of what I want to focus on for you all as a collective group, is because it is really like the key to trading, whether it be the expectations that you have pre-market or whether it be how you manage your expectations whilst in a trade. Managing them is like the key to success as a trader, because once you expect nothing each day, it becomes way easier to accept a loss or to accept no trades and to skip choppy days and skip choppy action, right? So one other thing I want to note before we go, I found this in this Airbnb that I'm staying in. I found this, and so I wanted to share it with everybody. It is, let me see, make sure that everyone can see it. It is like a stress pillow or some shit. I don't know. You can do some funky shit with it, but I have found throughout the course of this weekend, I've really enjoyed like just putting my hands in it and like turning it around and like fucking around and just doing that. And I think it's a really great thing. I ordered 3 of them because I want different options. I'm going to start using them at my desk when I want to sit on my hands, right? I want to rather, because we've talked about this before, I literally will physically sit on my hands at times to prevent myself from over trading or from taking entries. This is like another, like a fidget spinner, but like a really comfortable type of one, like really cool. I would honestly look up, I just typed in Not Pillow on Amazon and they're like $20. So I'm really excited about this. Honestly, I think that it's little shit like this that like really can make a difference as a trader. Is like put your hands in something like this and allow your trade that you just entered to really work, right? Oh, you tempted to trim? Well, think about it, right? Should you trim before you target, right? Like really let your shit work. I really think it's going to be something that'll help my discipline and stuff, right? Just like having something to fuck with your hands there. So huge recommendation on this. Again, I found one on Amazon for like $20. It'll be delivered tomorrow. Like Amazon's fucking, amazing for that one. So yeah, I think that this is again, as traders, we're always trying to find little life hacks to remain more disciplined, keep ourselves more calm, keep ourselves more patient, and not make mental capital mistakes. And I think something like this can go a long way. So that being said, that's all I have for you tonight, everybody. Again, I am unlikely to be trading tomorrow. I'm going to try to enjoy myself, sleep in, and then I'll be back at my desk fully on Tuesday. We'll do pre-market webinars. We have earnings coming out that I want to watch that day. On Tuesday morning, we have CAT, which I'm interested in. We have McDonald's, which I'm interested in. I'm very interested in McDonald's. I think McDonald's might finally get that breakout, right? That it's been consolidating on. Like, let's see. McDonald's has kind of been consolidating, for a long time, and maybe it might finally get the breakout of this, huge bull flag up to 300. So McDonald's definitely on watch, CAT on watch, UPS on watch. We'll see how this sets itself up. But yeah, overall, I'm excited. But again, expectations being managed is the key. So all right, everybody. I hope you all have a great rest of the night. I will get this recording posted ASAP. And cheers, everybody. All right. I love you all, and have a great night. All right. Peace. Gang.